CDC Serendipity, we're now going to move on to what I like to call the CDC Soft Hackle. The technique in using this CDC in this manner is highlighted in another video called Tailwater Midges, but in this particular way we're going to show you how the CDC can be used as equally as well, and probably just as effective, if not more effective. So again, we'll start off with a hook, and it's your standard curved shank hook that's used for scuds and midges. Get our thread going on here, and we're ready to tie in some Drib. As you can tell just from the previous two flies, I've really become fond of the Drib. And as you watch it being wrapped through the POV camera here, I'm sure you can see why I've become so fond of it. But if you're not real fond of synthetic materials, you can always use a dubbing or a goose biot. So we'll just wrap this forward. This particular color is the rust color, which makes it ideal for use when you're wanting to imitate pale morning dun emergers. And if you just happen to be in the Colorado area, just about anything in the rust color works real well. As I'm sure you know, because the pheasant tail works just about everywhere it has been fished. We'll stand that up, and we'll add some dubbing. Since we're kind of doing a PMD emerger color here, let's use some sulfur yellow microfly dry fly dubbing for our thorax. So we'll just add a little bit on here. And if we'd like to get our dubbing a little bit tighter, all we need to do is come over here and put some dubbing wax on our finger. Kind of go rub it with your thumb and just go right back on over the dubbing. You can see how instantly the dubbing becomes real tight. And that's real important, especially if you're tying real small flies. And many of the patterns that I've shown so far, like the Serendipity and this Soft Hackle, you're probably going to be using it in sizes anywhere from 16 to 22s. Now we're ready for our CDC. So I've selected 2 CDC feathers, just because it's a little bit bigger hook. And we've got the tips evened up. And we're going to stroke the fibers to the front and just kind of group it together so they're nice and even. Now I'm going to measure it for length, which is to about the hook barb or the hook point. Now, instead of wrapping this like a hackle, kind of like what we did on the Prince Nymph, we're going to kind of mold or spin the CDC around the hook shank. That way we can tie this at any length that we want, making it a very useful technique for tying small soft hackle flies. First thing, tighten your thread. That way you have a lot better thread control. Come over the top, and as I do that, you can see the material kind of bend and mold around the hook shank. Hold your thumb against the fly, release tension with your index finger, now re-grab, and just keep coming right on around. Tie it down, and we're going to cut off our excess. Build up a nice little thread head here, and we're ready to whip finish this thing off. Now just to add some variation to this particular fly, before you tie in your hackle, you can tie in a few strands of crystal hair to stick out the back, or even some ice dubbing. Just adds a little more sparkle to your fly, and sometimes that is all that's needed to have a successful day out on the river. Now when I tied this in, I had the tip of the CDC in here, so I'll just kind of pull that out to the side and just pop it off. And when we get all done, we're left with a CDC Soft Hackle. Now as this thing goes through the water, CDC is going to just lay right along the sides of this fly, making it look more animated and kind of like an emerger. And that's what I like to call the CDC Soft Hackle.